So if you've got a block, you can put it right between your knees or your thighs or not. But let's lie down and then check in with that triple S. So feel the back of your skull on the ground, the shoulder blades, and your sacrum right above the tailbone. That alone might feel tricky to get the ribs down. So that's part of that stack of the ribs over the pelvis. We're going to do some really segmental lifts today. So just nice and slow, like you're curling up the tailbone, push into the feet, lift up one vertebra at a time, staying low in that bridge. So this is just about glutes, not how high we can lift the hips. And then just as slowly as you lift it up, lower down one vertebra at a time. And then especially as you get down toward the lowest part of the spine, notice if you just want to lower all at one time. So we really want to work this segmental lift and lower. So we're really just moving in the lumbar spine, which is the lowest part of the spine, and keeping the pelvis neutral. So we're feeling those two pelvic points draw in. We're really giving the glutes a nice squeeze. Let's pause the next time we come up into that bridge. Stay low, feel that your low back is long, so tailbone is reaching toward the heels. We'll squeeze in the glutes, and let's stretch out the wrist. So right palm up toward the ceiling, take the left fingers, pull back, getting into that wrist extension. Even though we're not really doing planks today, we are going to be weight bearing on our hands. So you want to get the wrists all warmed up, left palm up, pull it back. Keep that squeeze in the glutes, pushing down into the feet. Good, hands lower down. As slowly as you can, lower down one vertebra at a time. Good, and then coming all the way down. We're going to have the option for our core work today to not even lift the head. So that's going to be our first very postpartum option. So inhale, breathe into the ribs. On an exhale, if you want to put that block between your legs still, just give that block a squeeze. We're going to take our hand and tap on the low belly as you exhale. So super simple, but when we tap on a muscle, we're more likely to wake it up. So right now we want to get into those deep core muscles, and then just release, inhale. Exhale, hug the blocks, a little squeeze between the thighs, tap on the low belly as you exhale. So right now we're kind of tapping the transverse abdominis, so that kind of like corset muscle you think about. Good, then we have the option to add on, take a breath in. Exhale, squeeze the block between the legs, tap on the belly. So by squeezing the block, we're also activating the inner thighs and the pelvic floor. You can add the head lift if you're feeling up to it. And then inhale to lower. You can release the hands if you're doing the taps. Exhale, tap on the belly, squeeze the blocks, stay with this, or hands behind the head, lift up, gazing toward the belly button. Keep that squeeze on the block. Inhale, lower. Let's do one more. Exhale, lift. Start with those low belly taps as you squeeze the block. Maybe we bring the hands behind the head, lift up off the shoulder blades. Inhale and lower. You can remove the block. We're going to come all the way up to quadruped. I knocked over my water. From quadruped, let's get a little thoracic rotation. So that's going to help that stack of the ribs over the pelvis. So we don't need the block. Shoulders over your wrist, hips right over your knees. So walk that quadruped in kind of nice and tight. Right hand will come behind the skull. Now lift your skull up into the hands. Push down into the left hand, rotate the chest to the right. So we're just rotating the upper back and then back to neutral. So chest down. Push into the left hand, rotate the chest to the right, thoracic rotation. And then back to where you started. Push down into the left hand, rotate to the right. And back down. Release the right hand, recheck that triple S. So like you have a broom behind your back. Left hand behind the head, push down into the right hand as you rotate the chest to the left. So it's probably really small of a rotation, and then chest back down. Push into the right hand, rotate the chest to the left, just the mid and upper back, and then back to where you started one more time. Push into the right hand, rotate the chest. Good, unwind, hands come down, we'll come onto forearm quadruped. So lowering onto the forearms. We're not going to be lifting the knees into a dolphin. We're just going to stay here, focusing on the shoulder blades. So push down into the forearms, spread your shoulder blades apart. So spreading the shoulder blades away from the spine. Now soften the chest down, draw those shoulder blades in toward the spine, kind of like you're squeezing them back in. So push into the forearms, spread the shoulder blades apart, protract, and then squeeze them in, retract. Try that a couple more times, you can go faster. Really just trying to isolate the shoulder blades. So it's not a full cat-cow. We're not rounding the back. We're just trying to feel those shoulder blades spread apart and squeeze in. Good, let's come to a child's pose. Only sit the hips back as far as it feels good. You could also take the knees nice and wide if that feels better, but let's stay on the fingertips, so a little bit higher. As we sit back, think about lifting your armpits up. So instead of really sinking the chest down, I want you to lift your front ribs up, lift the armpits up, and try to breathe into your upper back. Let's come out of child's pose. We're going to make our way to the front of the mat. Continuing our reset, we will not do planks. We're just going to do quadruped hovers. So let's check that neutral spine, ears over the shoulders, over the pelvis. Reach your arms forward and up. Let the shoulder blades lift way up toward the ears. Exhale, big bend in your knees. Sit the hips back, bend knee forward, fold. Right foot will step back. Lower the knee and the top of the foot. So we're in that low lunge. Rise up in that 90-90, right knees over the right hip. Give that right glute a little squeeze. Let's check that the pelvic bowl is upright. So tipping forward would be the tailbone sticking out behind you. So let's reach that tailbone straight down. Plant the hands. Quadruped back to hands and knees. Tuck the toes. Exhale, hover the knees. So this is our plank alternative, just hovering the knees. Continue to lift the hips up into down dog. Take a breath here. Let the weight stay in your hands and your arms. Now lower the knees back through quadruped. Untuck the toes, right foot steps forward. So now we're in that 90-90 on the other side. Left knee is down. Check in with the pelvis. Don't let that tailbone stick out behind you. Reach it down and then give that left glute a little squeeze so you can really stretch the front of the left hip. Hands come forward or to a block if that's helpful. Take the left foot, step it forward, bend knee forward, fold. Arms reach forward and up. Lift the shoulder blades up. Exhale, hinge, spine stays long. Left foot steps back. Lower the knee, but not the toes this time, so toes stay tucked under. Rise up. Check in that our rib cage is right over the pelvis, so notice if it's popping forward. Stack the ribs right over. Hands will come to the lowest ribs. Inhale, feel the rib cage expand side to side. Getting that full breath back into the ribs. One more breath. Hands come down. Quadruped, let's take a hover, tucking the toes. Exhale, hover the knees just barely off the ground. Continue to lift the hips up to down dog. One breath here. Now, just like that child's pose, feel your armpits lift up and away from the ground so we're not sinking the chest down. Lower the knees back to quadruped. Left foot's gonna step forward now. Low lunge. So now we're just on the other side. Squeeze that right glute. Check in, grab your ribs. Make sure your ribs are on top of the pelvis. And we'll inhale, breathe into those lowest ribs. Feel that side to side expansion in the torso. One more breath. Hands come forward. You can bring them to a block. Right foot steps forward to meet the left. Bend knee forward, fold. Reach those arms forward and up. We're starting our first sequence. Exhale, hinge, torso toward the thighs. Right foot steps back, starting the same way. Lower the knee, but not the toes. We're in that 90-90 low lunge with the left foot forward. Tighten that right glute. Let's just roll the shoulders back one at a time. So helping to open the front of the chest and shoulders that might feel tight. Freeing up the upper back. You can grab your block. We're going to turn to the side of the mat from here. So just swivel that right leg. Parallel your left foot. So now we're just facing the side of the mat. You could also have hands on the block if that feels better, into that adductor stretch. So left leg is straight, and we're just going to start shifting forward and back. As gently as it feels good, getting into this left inner thigh, left groin. One more. Now we're just going to turn it back to the front of the mat. Same position we were just in. Right hand comes under the right shoulder. Slide that right knee in. Left foot steps back. Modified side plank. Left hand can stay at the left hip or reach up. Let's drag that right shoulder blade down the back, really securing that right shoulder. Hands come down for quadruped. Right leg extends back for three-legged quadruped. Left arm reaches forward. So now we're in that opposite arm bird dog position. Notice if the back is arching, really zipper that pubic bone up toward the belly button. Hands come down, quadruped. Tuck the toes, down dog. Take a breath here. You can pedal out the feet if that feels good. Really press into the fingers. Feel the armpits lift up and away from the ground. Walk your hands back towards your feet for happy squat. We're going to have a big bend in the knees. You can come to fingertips. Hands can be on a block. You can have the hands up as high on the legs as you need to keep this long spine. Now slide the hands up. Coming into a standing position, let's do those triple flexion hinges. Hands slide down as you inhale. Hips move back, torso comes forward. Push down into the feet. Exhale, give those glutes a squeeze as you rise back up. So we're just sitting back. Inhale. Exhale, rise up. You can, of course, add a heel lift on the way up if that feels good. Come to stand. Hands can come forward. You can even grab your block for a little bit more feedback. We're going to pick up our right foot, balancing on that left leg. So flexing that right hip. Let's reach the block forward. That's protracting the shoulder blades. Bring the block back in towards you with the elbows straight. That's retraction. Find neutral. And then step it down. So we're just walking our way forward like this. Pick up the left foot. Reach that block further forward. So we're getting into the scapula. Retract, squeeze the shoulder blades in. Find neutral. Step it down. Two more. Pick up the right foot. Balance on that left leg. Block reaches away. Block comes back in. Find neutral. Step it down one more time. Flex that left hip. Push the block away. Bring the block closer. Neutral. Step it down. Remove the block second side. Arms reach forward and up. Lift those shoulder blades. Exhale, hinge. Hips move back. Chest comes forward. Left foot steps back. Lower the knee, not the toes. So we're in that same 90-90 low lunge. Left hip over that left knee. Give that left glute a little squeeze. Roll those shoulders. Rolling backwards so that we can open up the front of the chest and shoulders since we spend so much time rounded. Getting a stretch at the front of that left hip. Now you can grab the block if you'd like or not. We're just going to turn to the left. So side of the mat, parallel that right foot. Let's add those adductor or inner thigh rocks. Back and forth, make it as gentle as it feels good. We're going to turn back to the front of the mat. So swivel the foot around, left hand comes under the left shoulder, slide the left knee in, right foot steps back, modified side plank. Hand can be up or at the hip. Let's drag that left shoulder blade down the back. Quadruped, left leg back, right arm forward. Now picture that broom behind your back. Would it touch the back of your skull, your shoulder blades, and your sacrum? Lower to quadruped, tuck the toes, downward dog. Let the knees stay bent. Think about lifting your hips way up without dropping your chest down. So feel the front ribs lift up. Hands walk back toward the feet. You can bring your block with you. Happy squat. Now maybe hands even come to the block here in happy squat to lengthen the spine. Let's add that slide. Slide the hands up the legs as you rise to stand. Inhale, sit the hips back. Hinging forward, push into the feet. Use your glutes to rise up. Any pace, you can go faster. You can go slower. So we're working the glutes as we hinge back. And we're working the glutes as we rise back up. Good, last time, grab your block as you come to stand, palm the block, so we're just holding it between the hands. Let's pick up the left foot, move the block further forward, protracting the shoulder blades, squeeze the shoulder blades in, find neutral, step it forward, pick up the right foot, protract, reach it forward, retract, draw it back in, back to neutral, step it forward. 2 more times, pick up that left foot. Protract and retract. Step it forward. Pick up the right foot. Protract. Retract. Neutral. Step it forward. Good. Remove the block. We're just going to do 1 round of sun-sal A. No planks, just hovers. Reach the arms forward and up. Now, as you reach those fingertips up, reach the tailbone down. Exhale, hinge. Step to your quadruped. Shoulders right over your wrists, hips over the knees, tuck the toes. As you exhale, hover those knees, but don't let the back round. So we're keeping that neutral spine. Continue to lift the hips, down dog. Maybe we pedal the feet out. Maybe we lift and lower both heels. Anything that feels good, just let the neck release. Now we'll walk it forward, bent knee, forward fold. Push down into your feet, reach the arms forward and up. Reach those shoulder blades. Good, lower the hands. Starting our second sequence, we're going to step the right foot back into a high lunge. Now shorten the stance as much as you need. We don't want to be so low here that we're tipping the pelvis forward, so keep that tailbone down, pubic bone zippering up. Just like we did in our core work, I want you to exhale and start tapping near the low belly. So you're just moving your hands around the low belly. Again, we're telling the brain to fire those deep core muscles to stabilize. And now we'll goal post the arms. Now check, are your ribs still over your pelvis, or did you automatically want to thrust those ribs forward? So find that stack, turn the chest just 1 or 2 inches to the left. So we're rotating toward that front leg and back to center. Rotate a small amount to the left and back. You can go slower, you can go faster, but really give that right glute a little squeeze. So we're staying really stable in the pelvis and the legs, and we're just getting that thoracic or upper back rotation. Release your arms, turn to the side of the mat, heels in, toes out for our goddess squat. Now our hands are just gonna go down and up, down and up. You can make it dancey, whatever. But our hands are actually mimicking what our pelvic floor is doing while we squat. So as we inhale and go deeper, we lengthen, and as we exhale, we lift. So our hands are just there, giving our brain a little bit of extra help. Now you can grip the toes like you're trying to pick up the mat or sand with your toes. That's going to get even more into those inner thighs and pelvic floor if you add that little grip of the toes. Turn to the back of your mat. We're heading to quadruped. So hands come down, come onto hands and knees. Right leg extends back for a 3-legged quadruped. Bend the right knee. Let's pulse that right hip and glute. Everything else tries to stay totally still as we just pulse that right hip. So we're working that hip into extension. If you're feeling it a lot in the hamstring, take a hand, poke that glute. Tell that right glute. That's what we're using to extend the hip. Good, now take your right foot, however you need to get it there, step it forward. We're gonna lift and turn back to the side of the mat and parallel the feet. So we're heading into our side lunges. You of course have the option to have the hands on the ribs. You can have the arms out, but let's alternate side lunging, left and right, sitting back into the hips, torso comes forward. So we're really thinking butt back, chest forward. Again, lengthening into that adductor or inner thigh. but we're using the core to keep that neutral spine as we move, not letting the back round. Good, now rise to stand. All you're gonna do is turn your left toes out, right toes in a little bit, bend that left knee. Now we're in warrior two. Let's check in with the pelvis. Do we still have the rib cage stacked right on top of the pelvis, or have the ribs moved forward? Reach the arms out. Take your right hand to the left side of the rib cage. Reverse your warrior, so left arm reaches back. Breathe into this right hand. So send your breath into that left rib. And then arms come back out, warrior two. Left hand to the right side of the ribs. Variation, right arm reaches up and over. Breathe into that left hand now. So send your breath into the right side of the rib cage. Back to warrior two. Step it forward toward the front of the mat. We're gonna alternate picking up 1 foot at a time. Doesn't matter how high it goes. That's that flexion of the hips when the thigh lifts toward the torso. Can you do this keeping the tailbone reaching down? Can you keep that stack of the ribs over the pelvis? So actually a lot of core work here. We're using those hip flexors. Next time your right foot is up, let's pause there. So we're balancing, standing on that left leg. Goal post your right arm. Take your left hand over to the right ribs. Now we're gonna do a little twist here. Turn your chest just 1 or 2 inches to the right. Try not to turn in the low back. Tighten that left glute. Good. One more moment here. And then we'll step it down. Second side, step your left foot back. Soften that left knee. So we're in that high lunge or crescent lunge. Tap on the low belly. So again, anytime we use our hands on our body, we're giving the brain extra signals that that's what we want to fire right now. Keeping that core engaged, let's goal post the arms. Without turning your pelvis or your low back, just rotate the chest 1 or 2 inches to the right and then unwind. So it's a very small rotation. We're just trying to isolate the upper back. Keep your tailbone reaching down toward the ground so that pelvis is staying neutral, which means we don't have that big arch in our low back. Keep turning to your left so you face the side of the mat. Our heels are in, toes are out to your comfortable amount for the hips as we bend the knees, checking in with that squat. Are our ribs still stacked over the pelvis? Now you can do little pulses here. You can just hold. You can do slow, but again, if you want to use the hands, inhale, hands are going to lower down. Exhale, lift those hands back up. So we're just using that connection, that mind-body connection. Maybe adding that little grip of the toes like you're trying to pick up sand with your feet. Getting into the inner thighs. Good, you're continuing to turn to the back of the mat. Hands come down, so we're in quadruped. Our left leg is going to come back this time. Left leg back for those glute pulses, then the left knee. Now picture that broom behind your back. Pulse the left glute. Can you pulse the glute without arching the back and dropping the belly? Can you pulse the glute without the pelvis turning to the left? So picture that you're balancing a glass of water on your lower back. Would it stay here the whole time as you pulse? Don't let the ears drop below the shoulders. Step your left foot forward toward the back of the mat. We're gonna lift and turn back to the side of the mat for our side lunges. Arms can be out or you can have your hands on your rib cage. Let's alternate right and left. Any pace that feels good. So you could do this super slow and stretchy. You can make it a little bit more dynamic, but we're really thinking hips back as far as possible, getting that hip hinge. Good, rise to stand. We're just gonna turn the right toes out, left toes in, warrior two. Check that the tailbone is reaching down. Left hand to the right side of the rib cage as we reverse. Breathe into the right side of the ribs. Warrior two. Left hand or right hand to the left side of the ribs. Reach it forward for warrior variation. Push down into that left foot. Warrior two. Step it forward toward the front of the mat. Alternate picking up 1 foot at a time. Now it does not matter how high it goes. Can we do this without arching the back? Can we do it without rounding the back? So can we keep that stack, keeping the core organized as we move 1 leg at a time? Pause with that left foot up. Let's come to that twist. So we'll goalpost the left arm. It's just like a cactus out to the side. Right hand to the left side of the ribs. Rotate from the center of the chest, 1 or 2 inches to the left. Push down into that right foot. Firm the right glute. Step it down. Let's see how much we can get through the stream. So we're going to add it together, make it a little bit more challenging. Reach those arms forward and up. Shoulder blades lift. Exhale, hinge. Right foot steps back. Lower the knee, not the toes. Rise up for that same 90-90 low lunge. Hands come to the ribs. Check that stack. Ribs over the pelvis. Firm that right glute. Arms lift up. Lift the shoulder blades up toward the ears. Keep reaching that tailbone down. Lower the right hand under the shoulder for modified side plank. Right knee slides in. Left foot steps back. Drag that right shoulder blade down the back. Left arm can float up. If you would like to lift that left leg off the ground, you can. But keep that neutral spine, so try not to change anything else. We're going to take our left foot, step it forward toward the front of the mat, rising all the way up off that right knee, coming into a high lunge. So now we're going to challenge the core a little bit more. Let's tap the right toes forward. Pick up that right foot. Left hand comes to the right thigh. Let's add that resistance. Try to push that right thigh down, but lift the thigh back up into the hand. Tap it back down, and then back to your lunge. So as you keep doing this, you can, of course, keep the taps in between. You can skip the taps if you want to go right from your lunge to that single leg balance, adding that resistance, but always keep the taps if that's going to help you keep your neutral posture, really using that organized core. So we're pushing down into that right thigh, but try not to let it move. As you step your right foot into your lunge, let's turn to the side of the mat for that goddess squat again, heels in, toes out. Goalpost your arms, make fist, and then we're just gonna turn our fist forward. So we just tip that goalpost over, squeeze those shoulder blades in. So tiny little retractions. We're squeezing the shoulder blades in, but be very aware of what the rib cage is doing. Is your rib cage popping forward each time? Can you keep that stack as you strengthen the back body to open the front of the chest? Turn to the back of the mat. Feet can be at least hips distance apart as we do those triple flexion hinges. Sitting back into the hips, hands slide down. Push into the feet, rise up. Let's see if we want to add that heel lift this time. So keeping that feeling of a broom taped behind your back. Can you do this triple flexion? Triple extension without rounding the back. Good, so keep the ribs kind of pulled in so that we don't droop the ribs forward, leaving that stack. Good, rise to stand, pick up your right foot. Goalpost both arms this time. Turn the chest 1 or 2 inches to the right. We're in that standing twist. Tighten that left glute. Maybe we reach the arms out if that feels comfortable. Step your right foot back, turn to the side of the mat. We're adding on to our side lunges. Side lunge to the right. Now tap your left foot behind into a curtsy squat. Rotate the chest to the right. Unwind, step your left foot to the left, side lunge to the left. Right toes tap behind, curtsy squat, rotate to the left. Unwind, right foot steps forward. Curtsy squat, left foot behind, rotate to the right. Unwind, left foot steps forward, to the side, side lunge to the left. Curtsy squat, right toes behind, rotate the chest. Unwind, let's step it back to the front of the mat. Second side, arms reach forward and up. Tailbone down, fingertips lift. Exhale, hinge. Left foot steps back. Lower the knee, not the toes. Low lunge, check that stack. Ribs over the pelvis. Arms up. Lift the rib cage up and away from the pelvis. Firm that left glute. Left hand down, modified side plank. Left knee slides in. Right foot steps back. Drag that left shoulder blade down the back. Right arm can lift up. Right leg can float up. Now let's step our right foot forward toward the front of the mat. Rise up for our high lunge. Goal post the arms. Rotate the chest to the right. Thoracic rotation. Unwind. Draw those pelvic points in. Rotate to the right. Keep that tailbone down. Unwind. Rotate. Unwind. Let's turn to the left into our goddess squat. Goal post the arms, make fists, and then just tip it forward. Squeeze those shoulder blades in. Can we squeeze the shoulder blades without the rib cage moving forward? Turn to the back of the mat. Feet can be at least hip distance apart for those triple flexion hinges. Slide the hands down. Really push into the feet. Squeeze the glutes. Maybe we lift the heels. So it doesn't matter how far we move in this triple flexion. What we want to do is really picture, or try it. Try it if you've got a broom next to you. See if you can keep that triple S as you move. Pause with that left foot up. We're coming to that standing twist. Goal post the arms. Rotate the center of the chest to the left. Tighten that right glute. You can straighten the arms out if that feels good. Now step your left foot back, turning to the front of the mat. Or sorry, side of the mat. Those side lunges, side lunge to the left. Right toes tap behind, curtsy squat. Rotate your chest to the left. Adding that rotation, unwind. Right foot steps out for a side lunge to the right. Left toes tap behind, curtsy squat. Rotate the chest. Unwind, so keep going, side lunge. Right toes tap behind. Rotate the chest to the left. Unwind. Right foot steps, side lunge. Tap the left toes behind, curtsy squat. Rotate the chest. Unwind. Good, step it back to the front of the mat. Check that stack. Ribs over the pelvis. Hands come down to quadruped. Let's circle here. So instead of regular cat-cow, let's try to make some big torso circles, both directions. And you can either end in a seated position or you can end on your back. We'll just take a very quick shavasana before Zoom shuts me down. So wherever you end up, check in. If you're lying down, can you feel that triple S? Can you feel the back of the skull, the shoulder blades and the back ribs? Can you feel the lower back? And just let the eyes close. Let your jaw wiggle around a little bit. Relax the space between your eyebrows. Coming back to whatever your natural breath is. You are welcome to stay right where you are or transition yourself back into a seated position. Just for the next few moments, we'll keep the eyes closed. And as you take one more deep 360 breath, take a moment to thank yourself for your practice today. Sending one grateful thought out into the universe. Thank you very much for doing Zoom yoga today.